So we've been working with commercial makeup and trim work, and we've learned some things. Now it's time for your final exam, and I don't think you expected this, but we've got on our array here a situation that is pretty complicated. It's actually a pretty goofy setup, and you're not going to find anything like this on a job. But it's going to be a good test to see if you understand what you are supposed to be learning in this video. And if you can make this thing work, then you've got a good comprehension of what it takes to do commercial makeup and trim work. So let's take a closer look at this and see what we're going to ask you to do. We've got a closer look now at our display, and this will be our power feed box like we've been using throughout the whole video. So what we want over here, we want this to be a three-way switch. We want this to be a four-way switch. And right here on this side of this, because we're going to have a two-gang ring here, it's going to be this half switched plug that we used earlier. So that's what this will be. And the top half, we want that to be controlled by the three-way switch. And the bottom half we want to be GFI protected. Now this is our light over here, and our light is going to be controlled by the three-way switch, and this will also be GFI protected as well. Down here in this box we want an emergency light, that red light that we did. Okay, in this box we will have a three-way switch, and again this three-way lighting will be GFI protected. And finally our GFI will be right here. What we want you to do now is to pause the video and take a look at this. We want you to try to come up with the solution that's going to make all of these things work. So try to work that out on your own right now, and then we'll come back and show you how to make this work. So did you get it figured out? We're going to kind of go through this step by step and do it a little bit slowly. Now we already had the green wires, the ground wires put in for you. Let's work from the power, because when you're figuring something like this out and how to do it, that's always a good place to start. So I just put in the power, just the constant hot for right now. So it fed from right here. Now how are you going to work this out next? Let me give you a little hint. If you're working from the power, where is the next place where power is going to be starting from to make this display work? So think about that, and then we'll come back to it. And our neutral, we made those up because we're done with those at this box. So to give you a hint, we made those up there. And that's also why we put this GFI plug in, to kind of give you a hint that we're done working in this box. Wire with the black wrap-up tape around it. Now that switch leg had to operate the top half of this plug, this half-switched plug. So, and it also had to operate the light as well. That means we had to have a pigtail at this junction box. And so here's the pigtail, and this will go to the top half of that plug, and then this part of the switch leg will go to the light. Now here are the two neutrals that go to the light. Remember, it must be GFI protected. Now we made up our hot and our neutral here because we were done with those. And we also made up the light here. Now we had to wait to make up the light because we needed a travel. So we finished putting this all together, so it's time to see if it works the way we want it to. So our emergency light is on, so we know that our power is hooked up, and that should stay on all the time. So first let's go to our GFI, and we'll plug that in. Okay, our GFI breaker is now tripped, so we reset it. And you can see we put the clock up with the camera, and it's working. And now the light came on because the switches are on. So if we turn one of the three-way switches, the light goes off. Now if we turn the other four-way switch, it comes on, and three-way switch, it goes off. Okay, so we know the lights are working. Let's go to this plug down here at the bottom, because we made this plug GFI protected. And now we can see that that plug is working. So let's trip our GFI breaker. Okay, the plug goes off. We put it back on, and our clock is working again. Okay, now let's go to the top. This was a half switched plug, and we can see that it is off because the lights are off, which tells us, and the light was on the same switch leg. So let's turn on a switch, the light comes on, and our clock works. Now these are GFI protected, so if we test the GFI and trip the breaker, the clock goes off and the GFI breaker works and does its job, turns off the clock and the light. So now if we reset the GFI, the light comes back on, and of course turn the switch off and the light goes off and the clock goes off at the same time, which means the top half of this switch plug was off. And again, if we plug it back in here, this plug works again because the GFI breaker has been reset and this was protected by the GFI. And the switch has no effect on the clock working. So you can see we took a somewhat complicated array and we were able to wire it up. And all we had to do was think of what we needed to do. We worked from the power side to the end. And sometimes it would be very complicated to pull this wire. And once again, we'd like to tell you, you're not going to find something like this on a job that you have to do. But if you can come up with the correct solution for something like this, and we think that you should be able to if you've been paying attention to this video and if you understand the principles we've been teaching. And if you can come up with that correct solution, then you can pretty much solve any wiring makeup problem that you're going to find in the field that you need to work on.